Good morning and welcome to the meeting of the Harbour Committee today, Wednesday the 17th September. For the benefit of the public, I am Councillor Sarah Williams, Vice Chair of this committee, and I will be chairing this meeting this morning in the absence of Rob Hughes. The meeting is being live streamed and the recording will also be available to view on the website after the meeting. Can I remind everybody that when you are speaking, please speak directly into the microphone and for members to reintroduce themselves when they first speak. For information, the supporting officers are involved are Ed Carter, Harbours Manager, James Radcliffe, Bridport and Lyme Regis Harbour Master, Matthew Penny, Service Manager for FCERM, Claire Colony, Harbour Business Manager, Laura Attlee, Senior Lawyer and my eyes, Kevin Evans, Senior Accountant, Joshua Kennedy, Democratic Services, and Louis Wicks, Democratic Services. First of all, we have apologies. Josh?
Thank you. Yes, so today we've received apologies from Councillors Rob Hughes, Peter Dickinson and Councillor Ray Bryan, but he has joined us online for the meeting this morning. Thank you.
Second item is minutes of the Harbour Advisory Minute. Confirm the minutes of the meeting of the Harbours Advisory Committee on the 11th of June 2025. Everybody happy? Thank you. Third item is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest?
Mark Roberts, independent member. I have a mooring at West Bay Harbour.
Richard Tinsley, independent member. I hold a mooring at Weymouth Harbour.
Thank you both. And public participation. There are no public questions. So I will now read Rob's chairman's report. Rob has asked James to pass on his congratulations to Harry Cornwall on completing his Harbours apprenticeship and also welcome the two new members of the Harbours team, Harry Emery and Tom Southall. He also says it's very good to see how busy the quayside parking has been at Lyme Regis and the uplift this has given to the Harbour's takings. Moving on to Weymouth. Well done Weymouth Harbour on hosting another reproduction tool ship, the Santa Maria, and later in the summer the Waverley paddle steamer. And both sure were much admired and visited by the public. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Weymouth and Portland Marine Litter Recycling Team and their volunteers for all the good work they're doing across the whole of Dorset, recycling marine and fishing waste, and also the Weymouth Harbour Master and his team for supporting this campaign. That's all from Rob this time. Item 6, Harbour Consultative Group minutes. To receive minutes of the Harbour Consultative minutes from Weymouth on the 24th of August, may I introduce Tim Day.
Thank you, Chair. Tim Day, Chair of the Weymouth Consultative Group. You've got the report in front of you. There's only two areas, really, I'll bring to your attention. The first was the unfortunate spike on Weymouth Town Beach in the E. coli levels in August. And this sort of mirrored virtually exactly the same sort of incident the previous year, but was much more pronounced. Councillor Wellard, who was there representing the town council, asked if the harbour team could monitor what was coming in the harbour, and Ed, I think, will speak about that later. But it's interesting to note the lack, I think it's a lack of curiosity from the previous year. Everybody pointed the finger at a particular source, but given we've had a drought virtually this year, that source was ruled out. That is pollution from storm overflows. So yes, I think it is very important that we nail down, if we can, where this is coming from. Is it the harbour or is it another source? And then moving on to parking. The commercial fishermen and all the commercial people, including the harbour side, are getting slightly peeved about random parking that's taking place. One side is on the slipway down by the ice store there, and the other part is on the south side of the harbour, where there were people, and I saw it over the weekend and during some of the summer period, are just parking, frankly, illegally, some of it, which causes obstruction for lorries unloading. And then there are people with blue badges. I know they're perfectly entitled to park there, except it does get to the point where if you're coming off the town bridge and trying to go down towards Brewers Quay, it is a one-way street. And if there's traffic coming up the other way, you have to wait. Now, okay, that's an inconvenience, but some of the traffic coming off the town bridge or from North Quay might be the lifeboat crew. So I think there needs to be an investigation from the highways side into whether or not I suppose it's those little yellow lines that says loading only would be appropriate in that area. But it was a bit frustrating. There was nobody, again, from highways, because Weymouth is really affected by what happens in the highways area. And that really, Chair, is all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions? Mark?
Mark one will do. Yes, Tim, I was just wondering whether the highways regularly attend the consultative meeting, which was put into place a couple of years ago, and I'm sure that would be of great advantage to the members if that is continuing. If not, could it be restarted?
Unfortunately, Matt, who attended the previous meeting, wasn't there that meeting.
Yes, my query just relates to Wessex Water have stated the water cannot be classified as drinkable. Which water, where's that referring to?
I believe, and Ed will probably be able to answer it better than I can, that is the water going down on the council pontoons. So, because I think it goes through a holding tank of some description, they say it's non-potable.
Yes, thank you. Just for clarification, the water sources at our marinas through taps on the pontoons are served from a break tank rather than directly from the mains. And even though we carry out regular checks, including testing water temperatures for risk of Legionella, current water regulations state that if there are no alternative filtration methods added, if it's just coming from a tank, it has to be classed as non-potable water. The other side of this, of course, is that the vast majority of vessels taking on water are also putting that water directly into a tank on their own vessel, which I would hazard for the majority of private vessels aren't regularly tested, unlike ours. But yes, that's current regulations. We are exploring options to provide a potable water source at our marinas. However, regulations with the way they are at the moment makes it extremely difficult to have a tap anywhere within a marine area with the risk of backflow if we're connecting directly into the mains water supply.
Thank you, Ed, for your comprehensive answer. No other questions? Okay, so we'll now move on to Harbour Masters updates, and I'd like to start with James Radcliffe for Bridport and Lyme Regis.
Thank you, Chair.
I managed to miss item 7, which is the designated persons update. John Hanna can't be with us today, so it's Ed Carter to present.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Ed Carter, Dorset Council Harbours Manager and Weymouth Harbour Master. Yes, our designated person, James Hanna from ABP Mayor, gives his apologies. He would have come at the September meeting to give his report, but he's been called away at last minute, so I'm presenting the report on his behalf. The report that would be submitted by James is to update the members of the Harbours Advisory Committee on matters relating to the Port and Marine Facilities Safety Code and the recent audit of Lyme Regis Harbour. The reason for this report and the audit against the Port Marine Safety Code is to ensure Harbours compliance. The audits are carried out by an independently suitable qualified designated person, and to this end, Dorset Council engaged ABP Mer to provide designated services, and a programme was established where the 3 Dorset Council harbours would be audited over a 3-yearly period, beginning with Bridport first year, Weymouth second, Lyme Regis in 2025. And this designated report details observations made during the most recent visit. The Port Marine Safety Code was recently updated and renamed the Port and Marine Facilities Safety Code, still PMSC for short, on the 1st of April 2025. The primary reason behind this renaming was to affirm that all marine operators, not just harbour authorities, so this includes marinas, boatyards, and similar, should all be striving to operate under a national safety standard in order to promote safe operations, safety of staff, safety of the public. And the Port Marine Safety Code, of course, sets out the national standard for this. And it's making it clear that it isn't just the harbour authority's responsibility. It is with all marine operators as well to ensure best practice and safe practice. The format of the safety code was changed to 10 distinct sections, which was very similar to the 10-point checklist in the previous version released in 2016. The latest edition of the code does not impose any new requirements under law. Every 3 years, harbours are expected to confirm their compliance with the code to the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. The next compliance exercise opens in January 2026, closes at the end of March. A letter to the MCA will be prepared ahead of the next December meeting of the Harbours Advisory Committee, signifying the 3 Dorset Council harbours as they are in full compliance with the Port Marine Safety Code, and this letter will be presented to be signed by the duty holder, Councillor John Andrews. The role of the designated person is to test the effectiveness of the harbour's marine safety management system. And over the past 3 years now, all 3 ports for which Dorset Council is the statutory authority have been audited. This assurance process allows the designated person to update the Harbours Committee and the duty holder, which in turn allows us to signify our compliance to the MCA on a 3-yearly basis. With reference to the recent audit at Lyme Regis was found to be fully compliant with the requirements of the code. 3 points of best practice were noted, one being the provision and maintenance of aids to navigation, the second being the standard of hydrographic survey, and the third, in general, the Council having a consistent and measurable approach to marine safety. 15 observations relating to improvement for management were presented for management consideration, and these were reported to the Harbours Committee at the June meeting. They're summarised again below. As you will see, a large number of these items were completed at a very early stage. A couple of the other items that we're still working on, which are slightly bigger, involve updates to our risk assessments, our risk register, the creation of a marine-specific training policy and marine training matrix, and a general review of the Port Marine Safety, a general review of our safety management system against the Port Marine Safety Code, which we are currently undertaking. The main thing for us is to reorder our safety management system so that it sits in the same order as the Port Marine Safety Code, those 10 sections, which will make it a lot easier for us to confirm or track our compliance, rather. Mr. Hannon also carried out some quayside checks when he was at Lyme Regis and commented that the overall condition of the quaysides, especially the public areas, were found to be in very tidy, clean and well-maintained, safe condition. Fishing equipment on the quayside was well stored and fenced from public access, and pontoons and access points very well controlled, protected and gated. The harbour team were complimented on their proactive efforts to maintain a clean, tidy and safe harbour. In summary, Dorset Council, as the statutory harbour authority for Lyme Regis, is found to be fully compliant with the requirements of the Port Marine Safety Code, and James Hannam will be coming to the December meeting to present a more annual report and update on the Port Marine Safety Code. Thank you, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Ed. May I just, on behalf of the committee, thank James and his team for an exemplary report. It's very good. Do we have any questions? Richard?
Yeah, just to reinforce the point Ed makes, the designated person is quite a key player in our arrangements or oversight, and I think it's really important we do understand overall compliance. This report just refers to the Lyme audit, so I think that December report will be very important for us, partly because we have a 3-year compliance statement to make to the MCA, so we need that assurance from the designated person, and also because the code has changed. Just on the point of the code change, I have been in correspondence with Ed. The changes on the whole have been relatively minor, but there are 3 areas that have changed in substance, so that's on towage, LPS and VTS operations, and a bridging document which requires a document to be in place that sets out the Harbours arrangements with all its interfacing organisations. I think it's important we do our own internal review to make sure we are fully compliant with those, or can be compliant with those new changes, and make a statement to that effect. And I think it will be important in December that the designated person will have to take a view on our compliance with that as well. It's quite a key time, I think, with the 3-year review, and also to the change of the code, that we're assured that we understand the changes have been reviewed and recognised and implemented, and the designated person has taken a view. So I welcome that commitment to a report in December, but I think prior to that, we should commit really just to an internal look. And I know Ed's had a quick look, and broadly we are, there's nothing major outstanding, but there have been 1 or 2 substance changes, and probably the bridging document is the key one, which I'm sure, given the authority, the Dorset authorities' kind of more broad arrangements with agency interfaces can be put in place relatively straightforwardly.
Thank you, Richard. Ed, would you want to come back at all?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, I 100% agree with Mr. Tinsley's comments. Thank you. Yes, it is absolutely our intention with James coming to the next meeting in December to generally talk about the full compliance of the 3 ports. As I've said, we are working on a few little bits and pieces. Generally, the harbours remain fully compliant with the Port Marine Safety Code, and as a matter of best practice, we're going through making sure that we stay up to date with, of course, the latest advice. Yeah, thank you.
Mark Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe I missed, but I didn't hear any apologies from the duty holder, Councillor John Andrews. I'm very surprised that with the importance of the Port Marine Safety Code, that the duty holder who has a mandatory signing off of that is not present at the Harbours meeting. I wonder if there is a reason for that.
If I pass you on to Josh, I think his apologies should have been on the sheet and was missed.
Yes, so he did make us know that he couldn't attend the meeting in advance, but I didn't give his apologies as he's not a member of the committee.
Okay, so deja vu, moving on to item 8, Harbour Masters updates. James from Bridport and Lyme Regis.
Thank you, Chair. Starting with the season tickets for both harbours. Bridport season tickets remain comparable to last year, with a large increase in the day launches. Lyme Regis is the other way around, where it's comparable on the day launches, with a large increase on the season tickets. Both harbours have seen an increase in visiting boat nights. All other services remain comparable to last year. Quayside parking has seen an increase, and this has been put to the sales of the permits and the good weather experience through the summer. The diving airfields at Bridport look low, being 40% down compared to last year, but with the service still being well used, we can see that the accounts still have time to catch up at the moment. In fact, checking yesterday, the figures are back up and comparable to last year. Mooring occupancy for Bridport is 87% for private and 73% for commercial. With Lyme Regis, it's 85% for private and 86% for commercial. Staff, as already mentioned, we welcome Tom Southwell and Harry Emery to the teams, and we'd like to congratulate Harry Cornwall on completing his apprenticeship that he's been working on over the last 3 years. He's been undertaking a workboat crew member apprenticeship based down in Plymouth at times. All the new staff and some of the existing staff have all completed new courses, telehandler tickets, abrasive wheels, sling and banksman, and are all able to fill diving air cylinders. The harbour consultative groups, there's been a slight change, so Bridport is still due to meet in November, whereas Lyme is now meeting in early October, so they can receive a update from Matt Penny regarding Phase 5. And the minutes of these meetings will all be presented in the December's meeting. The Harbour Revision Order, currently there's no further updates, but we are hoping to hear some good news after Ashwood meets with the MMO, and I believe this may be today. Harbour Works at Bridport, we're planning on making alterations to the Black Hut, which is situated on the East Pier. The current building is completely rotten and needs replacement. The Harbour has received a planning decision notice to allow us, under permitted development, to remove the building and modify it as per the drawings on the report. The building will match the existing where possible, with an extension to house a small kiosk selling teas, coffees and ice creams. And it is intended the kiosk to be staffed by Dorset Council, with all the profits being returned into the harbour. The landward side of the hut will be a changing facility for the swimmers. Currently, the development costs are yet to be received, but they are not included in this current budget report. But for this meeting, but will be available in the December's meeting. The plans are to have the Black Hut rebuilt and kiosk ready open by March, April 26. Staying with Bridport, we return in November, early November, to start doing the timber piling, to carry on from where we finished at the end of last year. The timber piles will be put into the deep water berth area. So hopefully the work will last 2 weeks, subject to the weather. The new service of at Bridport with the taking in the out-of-date flares, as mentioned at the last meeting. This has been very well received, and to date we've taken in nearly 400 flares for disposal. At Lyme Regis, the new fuel service, we started in May. Over the summer period, we delivered over 3,000 litres of fuel, and customers have been very pleased with the new service. A poll was carried out at Bridport, which indicated an interest for a similar service. So currently options are being looked at to start that service for next year. At both harbours, dredging, ABP have been commissioned to retake photos for the habitat survey. These are now being done, and the assessment has been sent to Natural England for comment. It's now hoped approval will be given for us to be able to complete a trial at both harbours. This will be in early November, not October. Depending on the results of the trial, we plan to do a full dredge in Bridport and Lyme in March and April. Both harbours have started newsletters back in July. The newsletter contains Harbour Consultative Group information, events, project updates, Harbour services, new staff, any proposed works, and polls to gauge customer uptake on the new service and services. We plan to continue these newsletters throughout the year, and it's been requested that the Harbour Advisory Committee email addresses are added to the circulation, and this has been done, so everyone here should receive the next month's issue. There's currently no recorded accidents or incidents to report. Our aids to navigation were due to be audited in August. This was actually postponed, and they came last week and found everything to be in good standard. And then there's a full list of our events that we've had. Sadly, the gig regatta at Bridport was again cancelled this year due to the weather, and the same at Lyme Regis with their gig regatta that was due in early September was also cancelled, along with the Lyme swim. That's everything, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Mark Roberts.
Thank you. Question for, obviously, James. Following the stabilisation or partial stabilisation of Wall B, would you like to give an update on the condition of the Harbour Master's office and its safety as a working office? Thank you.
Would you like to answer that, or shall I pass it on to Matt? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's fine. So the Harbour office and the public toilets are currently being monitored by property services for any movement, and reports are being put together from those results.
Richard.
Yeah, just a question for James. We've now implemented the accident incident reporting system, and I'm conscious Lyme and Bridport have fairly low incidents anyway. I just wonder if there's any evidence of better uptake of the system now. It's easier to report, and if not, is it worth promoting that perhaps through the newsletters, or just give me a bit more visibility, because it's a lot more easy to report now, and the more data we can capture, the more able we're able to respond in a proactive way. So my question is there any evidence of how effective that new system is? And it might take time, I appreciate that, but I certainly recommend a bit more promotion of that system.
Yeah, I think it's getting the information out there that the system's there, so I think it's a good idea. We can add it to our next newsletter to circulate.
Thank you, James. Any further questions? Nope. Over to Ed for Weymouth. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Apologies, I'll try and skip through some of the larger bits on here. Again, it's quite often not until you start to write all these things down that you realise how much has actually been going on. General observations for the harbour. Our marina occupancy during this year peaked at 92.4%, directly comparable to the 2024 season, and still above the lowest occupancy figure during the years impacted by COVID. Interestingly, we have seen a recent decline in demand for larger berths, with interest in berths for smaller vessels, typically around 6 metres, has seen a large increase this year. Hard to spot a trend, really, in the short term here. Again, ongoing financial pressures, particularly rising cost of living, do appear to be impacting the affordability of operating larger vessels. Increased expenses across fuel, insurance and maintenance may be contributing to the reduced interest we've seen. We'll have to see how it pans out. Like I say, in the short term, very, very difficult to spot any trend, really. Commercial berths, again, remaining, no change here, almost 100% let. A couple of small spaces remaining, which are tricky to fill due to the commercial vessels being the commercial vessels that are interested in a berth are too big to fit. Visiting vessel income. While we have seen really busy periods over this summer, we have also seen some protracted periods of quiet. Overall, our visitor numbers in June, July and August were slightly lower than in 2024. Good weather has seen more local vessel use, increased vessel numbers transiting through the town bridge and more vessels launching at the slipway. We continue to be a popular destination for visiting vessels, and we are seeing an increase in the large number of motor vessels arriving and staying for extended periods. Yacht Association and club rallies are a continuous feature of this summer, and many weekends we've seen vessels rafted out 4 or 5 deep on the pontoons. We saw some particularly big rallies earlier in the season with over the Easter holidays and the May holidays as well. The new fish landing quay has seen plenty of use in the early and middle part of the year. Our chilled catch stores being utilised predominantly by vessels sending catch to the Brixham fish markets. We replaced one of our ice machines with a unit that has a higher capacity storage bin, and we've also fitted CCTV within both the ice making and chilled catch storerooms. We're continuing to work to provide better services and facilities. We've created further space for the storage of fishing gear, bins for disposal of leaded ropes, waste oil disposal, and we've also just finished putting up a covered working area where fishermen can repair and work on their gear from being a bit protected from the weather. Fishing activity at Weymouth, we've seen a notable decline in August, both from resident and non-resident vessels. This does appear to reflect wider national trends being driven by a combination of factors: tighter quota restrictions, seasonal gear limitations, challenges in the small-scale fleet with rising costs, workforce shortages, and reduced access to viable fishing grounds. Environmental pressures and shifting fish stocks are also contributing, while the post-Brexit trade and regularity complexities are continuing to impact the viability of operations. We are seeing nationally that issues are particularly acute for ports that are relying heavily on inshore fishing. Looking ahead, the outlook for the remainder of the year for this sector does remain uncertain. While some seasonal recovery in catch volumes may occur, particularly for shellfish and the pelagic or ocean-going species, the challenges facing the industry, I'm afraid, are likely to persist. Continued fleet contraction and reduced investment in small-scale operations may continue to further impact activity. The 2025 Surf Life-Saving Competition took place on Weymouth Beach in early August. It was very well attended. We saw competitors from all over the UK take part in races both on and off the water. We worked with event organisers and Weymouth Town Council in the run-up to the competition, reviewing event plans, risk assessments, emergency procedures. However, with the activity taking place predominantly on the beach and in the very close confines of the inshore waters along the beach, there was little to no effect on harbour operations, and everything took place well within the existing buoyed bathing area, and the event was very well supported by their own safety staff and vessels. A harbourside listening post has been installed adjacent to the Pavilion Theatre on the quayside. This is part of a Children of World War II audio drama project led by Noth Fort, which allows listeners to hear stories of local life during World War II, which was written and performed by Dorset school children. The installation has been delivered in partnership with the Weymouth Area Development Trust, Weymouth Museum, and joint funded by Dorset Council, Heritage Lottery Fund, and Weymouth Town Council. We feel it adds real extra interest to the harbourside and is designed to be reprogrammable, meaning we can be updated in future with different content supporting other local projects or themes. Harbour incidents. At the time of writing this report, the Harbour team had recorded 40 incidents since the last meeting. And again, with being better able to analyse our incidents now, there's just a few statistics here for people to see. Within each category, example incidents of report of loud music from a vessel, persons jumping into the harbour, graffiti and damage down at the pleasure pier, a single report of a leak of hydraulic steering fluid, a few personal injuries, tripping on a curb, a couple of more serious ones where a jumper from the town bridge required medical assistance and was attended by paramedics. A second where a person experienced a medical episode sailing in Weymouth Bay this is racing conducted by the Weymouth and Portland Sailing Academy. Again, unfortunately, this was a medical episode and not related to the activity, I'm sure, but not directly related to any safety issues with the racing. The casualty was brought into Weymouth Sailing Club as that was the closest, quickest point that emergency services could be provided, and CPR was undertaken at the pontoons prior to the casualty being taken to hospital. We've had a couple of incidents with a person pushing through the closed barriers on the town bridge and one small vessel choosing to ignore the red vessel lights at the town bridge after getting a bit bored of waiting. No safety concerns there particularly, as all the procedures in place all worked as they should do. We've, of course, reviewed our risk assessments in light of this just to make sure that we've got a proper CCTV coverage. And, of course, we provide safety staff as well as bridge lift staff, both to protect the public and also to keep an eye on vessel traffic and road traffic that's moving through the area. A couple of potential risk items. Some visitors observed to be boarding their vessel a little bit inebriated prior to staying the night on board their vessel. Not a huge amount we can do at this apart from to keep an eye on people and try and keep them as safe as possible. Fishing gear being laid close to the bathing buoy area, and we've had a couple of life rings removed from their housings, although our staff have found all those and put them all back. Within the vessel-related category, we've got no incidents standing out in particular. They all fit in what we would expect from a summer season, with increased activity across the harbour. I would point out that in the above graph, it does appear that bylaw offences form a large part of the data. It is important to highlight that in this category only accounts for 5 out of the 40 incidents attended during the last period. 2 of these incidents are currently being investigated further with assistance from colleagues in legal with a view to pursuing prosecution action, and I hope to bring some further information on those 2 at the next meeting. Moving on to harbour operations with oil spills and response. Back in May, we had a very small incident with a malfunction on the vehicle used by a third-party contractor who removes waste oil from the port. Due to a faulty indicator light on the truck, oil, instead of being pumped into the truck, actually caused oil to spray slightly from the oil tank. However, the area where we keep the waste oil, of course, has been deliberately chosen. The area has no drains, and it's set in an area where it's sunk down from the harbour side, forming a natural bund. Due to the controlled nature of the incident and the very small amount of oil spilt, we made no external notification. The third-party contractor worked extremely well with us and helped us to clean the area, and another vehicle was immediately sent to collect the waste oil. And again, like I say, it was found that an indicator light on the vehicle was incorrectly showing the pump systems were operating to pump oil in. In fact, the pump was operating to pump oil out of the onboard tank. As per all previous collections, harbour staff will continue to be present at each future collection to make sure that all procedures are being followed correctly. And of course, in the event of any spill, our response is immediate and proportionate. One other small incident occurred where a very small amount of hydraulic fluid was found to be leaking from a small vessel steering system on a marina berth. We were able to use sorbent material to clean up the fluid, and again, with such an extremely small spill and a very easy containment, no external notification was required. We're planning further exercises this year to continue our preparedness in compliance with regulations. On the harbour revision order, the following Cabinet approval last year, the harbour revision order was formally submitted to the MMO. Consultation has now been undertaken by the MMO, which concluded on the 31st of July. Ashford's confirmed on the 14th of August the consultation closed with no objections and no actions. In light of this, the final drafting checks have been made and the HRO has been returned to the MMO to be placed in the queue for laying in front of Parliament. Ashford's do indeed have a meeting with the MMO on today, on the 17th, where HROs in general are being discussed, and I hope to have some further detail on the timescale there. Litter Free Dorset has recently launched an awareness campaign titled Love Weymouth Harbour, which is aimed at encouraging responsible boating and protecting water quality. The campaign promotes practical actions for boat users, including using onshore toilet and shower facilities, using holding tanks, properly disposing of waste and recycling. To help raise awareness and engage directly with harbour users, they've held a series of pop-up sessions which have been pretty well attended, I think, around the harbour. The first of those took place on Friday the 15th of August, and these offered an opportunity for boaters and visitors to learn more about the campaign and its importance. An example of some of the promotional material is shown below. Just as an additional to the point raised by the chairman of the consultative group regarding water quality, further to comments made by the Councillor Weller at the consultative group. This was done up, not in time for me to include this in the paper. I'm currently investigating setting up a water sampling regime for Weymouth Harbour itself. I'm just waiting for some further information on costs of having samples taken and that sort of stuff. And again, I'll bring some information about that at a later meeting. While I do believe, of course, it's very important that the harbour does all it can to encourage all users to dispose of waste responsibly, I'm not particularly believing that the boat users themselves are directly contributing to these issues, and I'm very much hoping that the sampling regime will show that our water quality in general is of a very good standard. Marine and litter recycling. Amazingly, the Weymouth and Portland Marine Litter Facility has marked its second year with really impressive results. To date, they've diverted over 12.25 tonnes of marine-related waste from landfill, which includes end-of-life fishing gear, ropes, gill nets, whelk pots, and other bits and pieces, old pontoons, fish boxes, empty waste oil cans, broken safety barriers, broken beach toys, crabbing equipment from bins, all sorts of bits and pieces. This initiative, with their hub based at Weymouth, now supports collections from across the whole of the Dorset coastline, pickups from Lyme Regis and West Bay, collections from Rutherford, and collections from Poole. And again, like I say, this expansion means that they're now collecting waste from the entire Dorset coastline, which I think is really, really fantastic. We've improved the infrastructure for them on site as well. Dedicated bins available for fishing lines, cans, plastic bottles, glass, and general fishing waste in our recycling areas. The only ongoing cost, because of course this is run predominantly by volunteers, is van hire, which is currently being met by Rockfish, which is a local southwest-based seafood restaurant group. I would say, this project continues to be a real model of collaborative stewardship, and again, real thanks go to the volunteers and local partners. It stands as a real testament to the strength of community cooperation. Harbour Works. And my apologies for the misspelling of Cousins Quay. There's no U, as I have been informed before, and I'm afraid, it's slipped through yet again. Cousins spelt C-O-S-E-N-S. But yes, there we are. Further to concerns raised by a member of the consultative group, we're looking at conducting some investigation works at a couple of changes in the surface level. In 2 locations in particular, slight slumping has been observed, and towards the end of this month, we hope the highways team from Highways of Dorset Council is going to come down and just take off the top layers of tarmac in those locations to see if we can determine the cause. This investigation is being carried out in assistance of the Flood Coastal Erosion Risk Management team, and of course any results and subsequent works will be reported at a future meeting. The railings surrounding the stone pier have been identified as needing replacement work in certain areas, with some railings showing severe signs of deterioration. We've got some temporary fencing affixed in a couple of areas. And again, working with the FSERM team, we're just awaiting a quote or finalising quotes to have looking whether we replace the railings as a whole or whether we work with a contractor to actually refurbish the existing railings and whether that can be done to a sufficient standard. Again, we're hoping to carry out this work over this winter period. Looking at the sand jetty now, while the structure of this is regularly, and so the sand jetty, of course, being a structure that comes just off the Trinity Road, due to the age of the structure and the relative difficulty in accessing underneath to conduct a more detailed appraisal, a more thorough investigation is planned to ascertain the current condition. A detailed structural survey was carried out in 2013 by Ramboll. It is intended to engage Ramboll again to carry out a further survey to determine the scope of any deterioration that's taken place and to assess the previous piling repairs. This survey will better indicate the remaining useful life expectancy of the jetty and if any limitations need to be imposed. A procurement initiation document is being prepared for this, and we will report further detail to this committee at a future meeting. Very briefly on the town bridge, the decision has been taken to push planned repairs for this year back to a hoped-for start in early 2026. Survey work has continued to take place over the last couple of months, focusing currently on the steel structure underneath the bridge, and we continue to work with Highways to ensure that when works do occur, we will minimise disruption to all harbour users. The Weymouth Quay Regeneration Project area is now, of course, fully open. However, we have continued delays with the fuel pontoon. There is actually a slight change to this. This has happened since I've written my report. So since I've written this report, we have heard from HMRC that we have finally been given approval to be a registered dealer in controlled oil. This comes after a considerable liaison time with HMRC. Despite basing our operating model on the way numerous harbours operate, our initial application for this was declined as they were not satisfied we could provide adequate monitoring at an unattended site. Despite querying this robustly, we have not to date been provided with an answer on how other harbours are seemingly able to provide an unattended fuel service, yet we are not permitted. In order to progress, we've made changes to the way we serve fuel, and while fuel will be available 7 days a week during office hours, customers will have to call the harbour office by phone or on VHF 12, and a member of staff will be sent to the fuel pontoon to supervise the dispensing of fuel. This will, of course, mean that additional staff costs will be involved in the running of the facility, which for now will be covered by our berthing office team. It's our intention to review these costs along with the wider demands on staff time within the now busier commercial port area to assess the creation of a new job role in future. There is a yes, that no, I did manage to get that note on there. So on the 19th of August, yes, we did finally receive notification. So yes, we're now working with this process. Unfortunately, we have not been able to get the payment system in place because you have to have your approval to sell fuel before you can do that. And we're now working through these very final bits. It's been a very long and convoluted process, and I shall be extremely glad to see it come to an end. Commercial port berths and notable traffic. We did have a full-size authentic replica of the Columbus's flagship, the Santa Maria, at the end of July. Her arrival was slightly delayed by strong winds, and she didn't arrive in Weymouth until 10:30 in the evening. Even so, there was a sizable crowd still gathered on the quayside to welcome her there. During her stay, she was open to the public from Wednesday until the Tuesday, the 5th of August, and again, a very popular attraction to the public. And we look forward to welcoming her again back in the future. Again, subsequent to this report, I've recently secured the tall ship now Victoria coming in, which is coming in very early October as part of the Pirate Festival. So yeah, another tall ship is coming in this year. Paddle steamer Waverley, of course, made several visits to Weymouth early September. It's been quite a few years since we've seen the Waverley here. We're very happy to welcome her. The Waverley remained incredibly popular. We had a huge number of people. I think embarking and disembarking was over nearly 3,000 people over the few visits that she made to here. A huge amount of very, very happy, smiling faces getting on and off the boat in a mixture of trips that were going from here up to Swanage, up to Southampton and back, or just a couple of short trips along the coast. The vessel's been operating generally across the Clyde coast, Bristol Channel, South Coast and Thames across the year, and she remains incredibly popular. And yeah, we're very much hoping to see the Waverley back in future. No acts of pilotage have taken place during this reporting period. The only update for members here is that following the findings of the Marico Marine Review, which concluded that we were looking to remove the pilotage service at Weymouth, we've conducted formal consultation on this and received no objections, and we've amended the... Since the last meeting, we took a consultation on amending our pilotage directions, and we had the consultation, received no objections, and the amendments have formally been adopted in accordance with Section 7 of the Pilotage Act. Effective from the 13th of August, pilotage is now only compulsory for vessels over 80 metres in length, which reflects the previous threshold of 50 metres. We continue to engage with the Department for Transport to initiate the formal process of removing Weymouth's status as a competent harbour authority under the Pilotage Act 1987. The DFT has responded positively, agreeing in principle the removal is appropriate and doesn't compromise navigational safety. However, they've indicated a preference to process similar requests from multiple small ports under a single legislative notice. As such, we await this broader action. The amended pilotage directions serve as a proportionate interim measure, which aligns with our strategic direction and national policy. And the last bit there is just showing the events that we've got here. Of course, Waverley and Ironman now done, and the next only large event of the season on the books, really, will be the Christmas Day swim. Thank you. Apologies, very long-winded report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ed. Do we have any questions for Ed? I've got Richard and Mark Saxby.
2 points, really. I'm pleased to see the accident incident reporting system's working well. That shows a really healthy reporting culture. So well done for that level of reporting. I know they seem minor and trivial, but those trends are really important over time. So a really good result, I think. Secondly, I'd just like to commend the Harbours team for the work they did organising the embarkation, disembarkation on the Waverley. The harbour area was managed really well. It was very professional. I went on the Waverley myself, but I was really impressed with the Harbours team work in terms of managing quite sizable numbers of people on and off the boat. So good job by the team there.
Thank you, Richard. And Mark?
Yes, I was just interested in the reporting that across all three harbours, there's no incidents recorded of vessels exceeding the speed limits in the harbour. And I just thought, does that mean we've got very well-behaved harbour users, or is it something we don't record and report on?
Ed, do you have any answers to any of those points?
Yeah, thank you. We certainly have got a couple in Weymouth. They're currently being recorded under the bylaw offence category under vessel incidents. Splitting out the categories further is something that I'm looking at doing. At the moment, we're lumping bylaw offences together as one, whereas, of course, I can drill down into that data further, needs be. They are recorded individually on each incident report. 2 of those, as I say, 5 out of 40 incidents over the last quarter. Out of 2 of those, we are looking at prosecution. 1 of those is indeed for excess speed within the harbour area. Another one is driving without due care and caution. So yes, we have got that data at a lower level. It's just not quite being reflected here. As I've said at previous meetings, I'm looking at the best ways of reporting the data at a high level, giving a decent level of detail without kind of going down into the real nitty-gritty, because there is a huge amount of data there. However, of course, this is something we'll be looking at as we review our safety plan. And of course, if there is further data that members would like to see on a more regular basis, I'll be more than happy to provide it. Thank you.
Mark Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Question for Ed on the fuel. Is it the fuel bowser only going to supply diesel, or are there any plans for petrol for small boat users?
Currently, the system is set up and the fuel storage systems are set up only to provide diesel. I'm not ruling out the supply of petrol in future at all. Certainly for small vessels, bunkering for things like outboard engines and things like this, and small fuels, taking small fuel cans on board to fill up outboard engines and the like, is definitely one of the a definite spill risk within the harbour and safety risk. The regulations surrounding the storing of petrol rather than diesel are significant, and we would have to look very carefully about where would be an appropriate site to have a petrol tank as opposed to diesel. Not ruling it out, absolutely, but in this moment in time, we're looking at providing red diesel, which the majority of certainly commercial vessels and larger vessels that have diesel engines on board are able to. Commercial vessels, of course, taking a rebated diesel rate, whereas the private vessels, they can put red diesel in, of course, but they do have to pay the full fuel tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to, Ed, I'll just quickly talk rubbish. Firstly, congratulations on the overfishing equipment and other litter. That's brilliant. This Love Weymouth Harbour, I'd love to see it rolled out to West Bay and Lyme Regis next year. Would that be possible?
Yeah, thank you. I do believe that's the intention of Litter Free Dorset, is to expand that campaign further. I know they've already been doing some work in getting bins to encourage the disposal of things like crab lines and such around it, but certainly at Bridport and I think at Lyme Regis as well. Yeah, I'm in regular contact with them, and yeah, it's a very simple matter to, the promotional material works, of course, very well in all harbours with, just a few words and names changed. So yes, as I say, I'm pretty certain that's their intention to do so.
I think some of the kiosks will be very keen to see those pop-up events as well. Okay, no further questions for Ed or James, so we'll move on to the engineering update. Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. I'll begin my report in Bridport Harbour. Item A. Trial and implementation of the new water injection dredging techniques are planned for after the current summer holiday season. Item B. 2025 inspections have mostly been completed and more defects have been identified and programmed for repair over the next 5 years. Boat inspections for the difficult to access sections will be undertaken in the first weeks of September. Defects programme for repair in 2025 will be completed after the summer season ends. Item C. Design, repairs and remediation of Wall B have been completed. Interim stabilisation works behind Wall B have also been completed and have further stabilised the wall. Further construction works to both walls are scheduled to commence in autumn 2025, but is partly subject to licensing approvals from the Marine Management Organisation and other statutory bodies. Project team members are keeping kiosk owners updated. All lay work is in a process of being costed, and overall sequencing and delivery of construction work is being reviewed and necessary approvals applied for as part of the overall works. If I move on to Lyme Regis Harbour, item A, trial implementation of the new water injection dredging techniques are planned for after the current summer holiday season. Item B, defects programme for repair in 2025 will be completed after the summer season ends. Annual inspections have started and most are completed in August 2025. Boat inspections for the difficult access sections will be undertaken in the first weeks of September. Item C, a large void at the toe of the seaward wall has been identified. This significant defect is located within a hard-to-reach section and is deemed to need repair before the proposed Lyme Regis Environmental Improvement Phase 5 scheme commences construction. £350,000 has been allocated for the repairs. Consultants were appointed to assess the void at the gin shop turn and provide a repair option. This report is due imminently. The CRM team, the Coastal Risk Management team, intend to build on the initial assessment, complete the design process and appoint a contractor. Item D, this is the Lyme Regis Environmental Improvement Scheme Phase 5. The scheme is estimated to cost £8.5 million. Currently there is a funding shortfall of £4.16 million to deliver the scheme, but the project team are currently awaiting feedback from the Environment Agency on funding allocations. In addition, DEFRA has launched a new consultation on reforming our approach to floods funding, which outlines a new floods investment framework set to take effect from April 2026. This provides an opportunity for Dorset Council to apply for additional government funding to alleviate the current funding shortfall. Once decisions on funding allocations are known, the project team should assess the impact of any changes to the report and provide further updates. The project team are continuing discussions with Historic England for pre-application service advice on the outline design submission and are currently awaiting feedback for a submission of further supporting evidence by the project team in June 2025. It is vital that agreement with Historic England is reached prior to procuring consultancy services for detailed design. Their support is crucial in not only for planning purposes, but also for enhancing the likelihood of successfully securing external funding. Thus, the project team are actively seeking further discussion with Historic England for further pre-application advice prior to procuring those consultancy services for detailed design. Construction is anticipated to commence between winter 2026 to spring 2027, subject to the progress of both funding availability and consenting applications. It is our intention to hold public engagement and awareness sessions in October and November this year, following the commissioning of detailed consultancy services, design consultancy services. These events will also explore how and when commercial users in particular access the COB and how access can be reasonably maintained. This information can hopefully find the least disruptive solution to facilitating construction. If I move on to Weymouth Harbour, item A, nothing to note. Item B, the 2025-26 inspections are nearing completion, with remaining inspections due in September as a boat is required to complete them. This season's repairs will focus on minor repairs to the stone pier and wall 2, as well as replacing some defective non-return flaps. Works will be undertaken after the summer period to minimise impact on the busy tourist season. Item C, as has been noted previously, DEFRA has launched a consultation on reforming our approach to floods funding. Based on the current guidance, the Weymouth Flooding Coastal Erosion Risk Management Scheme will fall under this new framework, though the final funding rules are yet to be published. We are currently assessing how these changes may affect the development and delivery of the scheme. As a result, submission of the outline business case is likely to be delayed. Technical works on the development of the outline business case are still being progressed, while appraisal options are being considered. The surface water investigation is moving forward with representation from the relevant risk management authorities. Item D. At a meeting with the Marine Management Organisation and Natural England in May 2025, it was agreed that the licence could be issued with appropriate conditions to cover seagrass compensation and mitigation of harm or disturbance to seahorses. Subsequently, the MMO advised us in August 2025 that they required the seagrass survey before they would issue the licence. The seagrass survey was completed on the 15th of August 2025, and the report is now being compiled. It was recorded at the meeting that a wildlife licence will no longer be required. The contractor, Knights Brown, and the consultant, WSP, have attended to the necessary pre-commencement planning conditions, which have been examined and accepted. We anticipate that planning approval should therefore be forthcoming as soon as the MMO licence is issued. If I can skip to item 7, financial implications. 7.1, where individual activities or works note a funding shortfall, there is a potential need and implications for the size of contribution required from Dorset Council and other stakeholders that derive benefit from that work. 7.2, officers will develop the appropriate financial cases and funding applications for individual projects, activities or work in alignment with Dorset Council's financial regulations and processes. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you, Matt. Do we have any questions? Matt, when you're replying, could you just move the microphone a bit closer to yourself? Thank you. Richard.
I understand there are, I think we've heard before as well, there's significant delays in licensing approvals by the MMO. Clearly that has cost and other implications in delaying works for environmental protection, safety works, etc. Is it time we started lobbying at a national level through some of the associations, because I think it's a national problem, that we actually get some attention to this, because the potential for the pressure on Dorset's budgets are high enough without delays in licensing.
Matt.
Only to note my response. Only to note that response and say that I would agree with that. But yes, it's hard for officers to lobby at a national level, Chair. So.
Ed.
There we go. Sorry, yeah, just in addition to that, I did actually have the good fortune to meet and speak with the chairman of the British Ports Association at a meeting earlier in the year, and we did discuss this exact issue. It's something that's being reported on and felt as an item of exasperation by harbours nationwide. Associations like the British Ports Association, the UK Harbour Masters Association, they are best placed to lobby government for this sort of thing. I'd be more than happy to look at writing a letter on behalf of the Dorset Council Harbours, for example, on these works. Maybe I'll have a chat with my colleague Matt and other colleagues and see how this could best be achieved. Like I say, lobbying at a national level is something that's much harder, of course, for officers here to do, but hopefully if we can get a word in the right ear for harbours, that would be a good way forward.
Richard, do you have a follow-up?
There we go. Is it something perhaps the duty holder could raise with the local MP as well, just to raise our concerns in terms of delays?
Yeah, thank you. I'll certainly discuss it with Rob and John Andrews. We've got Ray Bryan online, who's got a question.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Sorry I'm not with you today. You wouldn't want me there, let me tell you. But my question is on costings. Are we managing to keep the costings for all this work within our budget?
We obviously actively manage the budget for each project that we undertake and work activity that we have. It is particularly difficult with longer term schemes. Generally, there's an ongoing cost inflationary rise in them, but we are taking that into account when we're applying for funding applications, etc. So we're managing that process as best we can.
Thank you, Ray. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, I'm going to make a suggestion, if I may, Chair, and that's that we ask Matt to bring a half-yearly report to us on the positions on costings and where we're going on controlling the costings. I think it's important that this committee see that we've got a grip of the costings, and I would welcome a conversation at committee on how we're going to do this.
Matt?
Just to say, if that's what the committee wants me to do, that I will bring forward that piece of work.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. So we'll move on to the item 10, budget monitoring. Claire Connolly, you're going to cover all three harbours this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, everyone. So the purpose of the report is to present the current budget forecast for the financial year 25-26. There are a few factors that affect all three budgets, so I'll go through them first. All three harbours. So the agreed pay award for 25-26 was higher than the original budget assumptions, which has resulted in some increased costs. And for Bridport, the impact of the higher pay award has been partially offset by a vacant mechanic post. For Lyme Regis, in addition to the pay award, there are further cost implications due to the job evaluation regarding certain posts, which has increased salary commitments. Seasonal staff costs for Lyme and Bridport are currently being reviewed. We're just going to ensure that the correct number of hours are being recorded against each harbour, and this will be updated for the next reporting period. And for Weymouth, there's been an additional strain on the budget by the need to cover some long-term sickness absence during the peak season. We've required additional staffing costs to maintain those operational service levels. All three harbours have also been impacted by the amended forecast for service recharges. HR and ICT recharges were recalculated after the original budgets were agreed in December. This has had an adverse impact for both Bridport and Lyme, but is a saving for Weymouth. The service recharges are based on historic calculations that predate local government review. There's no real source documentation, so they've just been rolling forward each year. Currently, they're under review and adjustments are anticipated as part of the 2026-27 budget process. So I'll now give updates on the individual budget forecasts for each harbour. For Bridport, the expected surplus has increased from 80,000 to just over 93,000. This will be transferred into reserves, leaving a forecasted reserve balance of 289,000. Key variances to note are some reduced dredging costs. This is because a full-year dredging programme is no longer anticipated. Projects that were previously planned to be funded from reserves, projects outlined in the approved business plan, will now be met from revenue budgets. So this offsets some of those savings from the dredging, but leaves the reserve in a stronger position. There's a shortfall in income. The vacant mechanic post that was mentioned earlier has led to a shortfall in income that would normally be generated through associated services linked to that role. And income from all four car parks at Bridport is currently outperforming the previous year, which contributes positively to the overall surplus forecast. For Lyme Regis, there's an expectation to return a balanced budget and not draw funds from corporate finance. As Lyme Regis does not hold any reserves, any emerging budget pressures have to be addressed through cost savings or increased income. This makes unexpected budget pressures, such as the changes to the service recharges, difficult to absorb. For this year, those increased costs have been met due to a reduction in dredging costs. Again, as with Bridport, the full-year dredging programme is not expected. There have been a few very minor budget changes in relation to rates, and for Lyme Regis, income is broadly on target. For Weymouth Harbour, the budgeted surplus has increased from 453,000 to just over £1 million. The primary reason for this is because the initial estimates for parking income were based on the anticipated impact of the repair works on walls F and G. It was expected that these would restrict access to the Peninsula car park. However, the delays in the start of these works have meant that the majority of the car park has remained operational. There's a boundary fence installed in August to facilitate survey work, but the actual impact on revenue has been much lower than anticipated. In general, across all harbour-owned car parks, car park income has shown a year-on-year increase, which contributes positively to the overall budget position for Weymouth. Other variances are income from visiting recreational users, although, as Ed stated in his report, the numbers are lower than last year. When we set the budgets, we use various different scenarios and include sort of some 3-year averages on visitor numbers. So this means that we are currently on track to achieve our budget, which includes income from overnight stays, slipway usage, and water sports permits. The marina remains busy. Income from short-term lets is growing in popularity, which has resulted in a 30% uplift in income. The commercial area is now fully open. There's been a review of space and the charging policy for parking and vehicle storage, which has generated new income. The fish landing quay and associated provisions like the ice and catch store has also started to bring in some new income streams. We've made some savings on water costs. There are some increased costs relating to waste management as we improve our recycling efforts, and some legal costs associated with the harbour revision order. Ed mentioned the fuel service. Obviously, once that is operational, this will generate further income that's not yet been included in any budget predictions. So the reserves for 25-26, the balance carried forward was 3.8 million. This is split across dedicated reserves. The harbour consistently generates an annual surplus. When setting budgets, the percentage of those annual surplus is allocated to each reserve fund. We've included charts in the report that illustrate the projected costs over the next 5 years of the reserves that we've set aside for asset management, development and project. The visuals highlight the importance of maintaining these strong contributions to the reserves in order to meet the anticipated future cost of these essential works. There's some details of planned in-year spend, and the balance of each reserve is provided at Appendix 3. Overall, the financial picture for all 3 harbours remains strong. Weymouth and Bridport have successfully built up reserves, which enables them to operate independently and invest in harbour improvements. Lyme Regis has achieved a balanced budget, demonstrating strong financial management. For all 3 harbours, targets will continue to be closely monitored throughout the year and will ensure accurate reporting, and if required, action can be taken to mitigate any shortfalls. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire, for your comprehensive report. Do we have any questions? Before I come to Mark Roberts, I see, Ray, you've got your hand up. Is that...
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Can I first of all congratulate all of the harbours on their performance? It was always my aim when I had the portfolio that the harbours would be self-financing, and congratulations on achieving that. It's a fantastic set of numbers you've just produced. But a word of caution. We've just had one of the best summers on record. And when you refer to parking, parking is dependent very much on weather conditions. And whilst we can congratulate ourselves on the achievement, when you are looking at the budgets for next year, can I suggest that you show a certain amount of caution, because you'll be under pressure to go with the numbers you've already achieved, but a certain amount of caution because the weather could change dramatically next year and affect your parking income. But congratulations on all 3 reports, and pleased to be part of the team. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Ray. I think that's a very cautionary advice. Mark Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like to echo Councillor Bryan's congratulations. It was part of the overall strategy that we've formulated for the joint harbours, that they should become self-sufficient. And it's it's both a relief and a welcome that they are in that situation. I would like to just continue on the parking. With the sophistication of our car parks and the monitoring of them, if when the Peninsula car park is partially closed for the construction works, it should be possible for Dorset Council to estimate the increased parking revenue from other car parks in Weymouth. Should some of this be diverted to the harbours to make up for the construction and the loss of income? Even though Dorset will have gained, the harbours will have lost out.
Thank you, Mark. I'm not sure whether that's possible. Maybe legal can answer that.
I'm not sure that I can, but I'm sure it's something we can have a look at.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Okay, moving on to monitoring and review and marine safety plan. Ed.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Sorry, there was one item I neglected to mention in my previous update, and of course that's following on from a comment from the Chairman of the Consultative Group around parking issues around the harbour. This is something that we're investigating further with the Highways and Parking Services. We do appreciate that it does cause a problem, certainly over the summer and in evenings with people parking very irresponsibly and often illegally. I'm going to continue to invite the Parking Service and Highway Service to the consultative meetings in future. We will keep working to try and resolve the issues. Thank you. Monitoring review of the safety plan. I'm afraid I must admit to a typo in the date of this report. Of course, is not from the 5th of March. This report is meant for this committee today. Looking at the safety plan, while we have previously agreed that we are going to review the marine safety plan for the 3 harbours and how we put things together, I must confess, as you can see from my report, there's a huge amount going on, and this item has just not quite reached the top of my pile this summer. As the harbours are, as we know, compliant with the Port Marine Safety Code, a review of the safety plan isn't coming from a position of necessity, but more of a place of best practice. So this is something that we'll be looking to achieve this winter, and I've already had offers of help from our independent member Richard Tinsley on that one, so thank you very much indeed. Looking for the safety plan, there's no real changes to report on this one here. Of course, we're already reporting on review and progress to the committee about navigational risks, safety management systems, incidents, accidents are reported at the committees as appropriate. The Bridport and Lyme Regis Harbour Revision Order, unfortunately, again, we are still awaiting news on this being signed off in front of Parliament, hoping to hear some further from Ashfords on this very soon. And of course, the general directions for Bridport and Lyme Regis, can't be put in place until the HRO comes into effect. So we're still operating on the pre-existing bylaws and regulations in those 2 harbours. Review of the latest designated person audit recommendations. Of course, this was added to the safety plan in March 24, and of course, we've just presented the results of an audit at this committee meeting. We do maintain an independent audit programme, which is seen here. And as Mr. Tinsley notified earlier, yes, the system is the system for incident reporting that we've completed in Weymouth. The same system has been adopted by Bridport and Lyme Regis. Admittedly, those 2 harbours, of course, primarily due to their size, don't have anything like the number of incidents that we do see at Weymouth, but purely, like I say, as a percentage of population there. But I think, yes, it is right that we could do some more work in encouraging members of the public, but harbour users, to report incidents to us as well as us, dealing with them ourselves. So again, we'll be looking to review this safety plan and bring some information in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? We have Richard.
An observation and then a request, really. The Marine Safety Plan is a requirement of the Port Marine and Facility Safety Code. It's also, I think we need to understand, it's not an operational document. It's very much the duty holder's vehicle for ensuring improvements and strategic direction across all 3 harbours. As such, I think it's very much the business of this committee in terms of ensuring, we have a good hold on it. It's done a good job, and Ed's already mentioned that we have planned and committed to do a review of this in a more structured way than we have in the past, and I think that's a good development. I think just an understanding for this committee, this Marine Safety Plan really is our core document for ensuring strategic direction of the harbours. To that end, I think I would request if we could have 2 new actions on this. I think we discussed earlier, I mentioned earlier the importance of the December compliance review and the statement from the designated person. And I think perhaps we ought to reflect that requirement as an action in this plan. As we're coming up to the 3 yearly compliance statement, I think this committee and the duty holder really needs visibility of that report and that review. And secondly, just an action really that reflects our commitment to a more structured review of the Marine Safety Plan going forward. So those two actions I would request were added to this. And just a minor nitpick now, the Marine Safety Plan just reflects the Port Marine Safety Code. I think it just needs to reflect the title of the new code.
Thank you, Richard. Ed, do you think it might be worth having setting up a small working group to help with this Marine Safety Plan?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, absolutely agree with those comments. Thank you very much. I'll be making a couple of notes as we've been going through there. Yeah, absolutely. I think a small working group would be very, very helpful. I've already been in discussion with a couple of members, and if anyone else would like to signify their interest, then yeah, please be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Earlier in the meeting, we had the Lee Hardy, independent member. Earlier in the meeting, we had the DP's report. And as we've been talking here, I've been trying to mull across in my mind how we tie that in with the ownership and review paragraph in this plan. And it struck me that the DP works direct to the duty holder. In this case, that's the structure. And yet this committee provides an element of scrutiny and independent expert advice on that report. So should this committee be making a recommendation to the duty holder for future DP reports, i.e. recommended to accept it with conditions, whatever it happens to be, just so that there is a formal line of authority through this? Now, I'm not expecting an answer today because I'm sure that legal and democratic services want to talk it through and see how it works. But I just wonder if we need to be making formal recommendations to the duty holder, in this case, given the scrutiny role we fulfil.
Thank you for your comments. I'll go over to Ed or Laura.
Yeah, I think we take those comments on board, have a look at it and bring back an answer next time.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, thank you, Ed. So moving on to Dorset Council's Harbour Economics Review. Ed?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So this report brings forward, seeks the committee's consideration of the scope for a planned economic review of the 3 Dorset Council harbours. This review will assess the economic contribution, operational performance and future opportunities for each harbour, informing strategic planning and investment decisions ahead of the next Harbour Business Plan review in 2029. The Dorset Harbour Strategy 2022 to 32 identified the need for periodic economic review to support our strategic goals, including maintaining safe and economically viable harbours, contributing to the local and blue economy. While Weymouth Harbour was last reviewed in 2017, no equivalent review has been undertaken for Brewport and Lyme Regis. Given the significant changes since 2017, including the impact and recovery from the coronavirus pandemic, evolving tourism and marine leisure trends, and the ongoing global economic uncertainty, it is timely, we feel, to undertake this comprehensive review now. Recent reports from the Bank of England and UK finance highlight subdued GDP growth, persistent inflationary pressures, and a loosening labour market. Local government planning is increasingly challenged by financial constraints, infrastructure demands, and the need for resilient economic strategies. A harbour-specific economic review will provide valuable insights to guide future investment, operational priorities, and community engagement. In this report, I've proposed below what I feel the review should cover. I would very much like to hear any suggestions or advice from members here today about this scope, whether they feel I've missed anything out, whether there's anything we should concentrate on a little bit more. Having this information brought forward and amended potentially today will enable me to then go out to seek quotes from companies to conduct this piece of work for us. Broadly, I've outlined the various areas that I feel we should look at: economic contribution, sector analysis, infrastructure assets, market trends, financial performance, and strategic opportunities. And again, we will look to conduct this at Bridport and Lyme Regis, and I think it will a good review process helps us support our relationships with user residents and partners. Quite a simple report, thank you, and up for discussion, of course. Thank you very much.
Mark Roberts.
This sounds like a perfect opportunity for a working group of the committee to help guide the officers in what a consultant is needed for if necessary.
Ed, do you agree with that? I think this would be quite useful to maybe have a couple of meetings just to sort of finalise. I'm quite happy to sit on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm more than happy to sort that out. We can either look to hold that in person or online, whichever works. But yeah, we greatly appreciate the input into this. Certainly, if we are going out to pay an external body to conduct this work for us, yes, it's not going to be particularly immediately cheap, and we need to make sure that we are doing the right thing. We do, of course, have resources within Dorset Council that could potentially conduct this piece of work for us as well. So yeah, I think it is absolutely right, as Mr. Roberts says, that we explore all of the relevant opportunities and angles.
Do we have any other comments or? I think if we can also look at who our partners are going to be on this. For instance, the town councils hold quite a lot of information locally, so it'd be useful to be able to consult with all the 3 town councils.
Yeah, thank you. I would mention, of course, that the Strategic Director for Harbours, Matthew Piles, is also the Director for Economic Growth and Development, so of course you'll be instrumental in helping us take that forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So no other questions, so we'll move on to the forward plan.
Yes, thank you. Final item from myself, Chairman. As you're all aware, the forward plan, quite a few standing items on there that we've covered today. The only items for the December meeting so far was, yes, to update on the economic analysis, and of course we'll take that forward with some working groups to direct there, hopefully report on that further there. And of course, yes, we'll be having a Port Marine Safety Code annual report from the designated person at the December meeting, which again will take into account some of the discussions we've had today, signifying, full compliance, as well as this exercise of notifying compliance to the MCA, but a general, more public statement from the council about the compliance of the 3 harbours. Thank you. And I think, yeah, that completes that item. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Ed, could we add into the plan the request from Councillor Bryan to Matthew Penny about a 6-monthly update on costs? Could we because if that's in the forward plan, I'm not sure when it should start, but then it'll be there that we all know there will be an update coming at 6-monthly intervals.
I think if it's going to be added, possibly the March 1 would be sensible. Ed?
No, seems to work. Yeah, thank you. Of course, we do have a standing item for the engineering update for there. So yes, we can amend that item to include some more financial details if that's what members would like. I'll discuss this with Matt and see how we can best achieve this. Thank you.
And I was just going to say, Ed, obviously, sort of as we've got the marine safety plan there as well, can we have any updates on how the review's going at that December meeting?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Yeah, the marine safety plan, of course, is an item on the forward plan. However, we've got it down for spring and autumn meetings. I think as we go through reviewing the safety plan, we'll also look at how we're reporting and whether biannual is still the correct method, or whether we potentially move to a single annual update, but potentially containing more detail. But yeah, that absolutely that'll be in my updates at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking round, there's no further questions. We don't have any urgent items, and we don't have any exempt business. So I will close the meeting at 11:29. Thank you very much. Can I ask for committee members to stay behind for an update from Matt Piles? I intend to take a 5-minute break first so we can just sort of stretch our legs and use facilities, whatever.